guy at Motor Yard said he hadn't been paying him.
Can I ask a favor of you?
What would that be?
Put Motor Yard.
Give me an address.
Grass would get
Yes.
high out
I'm
on
on.
the next to the street.
Would you like more than one?
Nah, I'm not.
I'm on.
So I mowed it.
If I know where they're breeding, it's an issue. They use less than 3 I don't feel like I'm.
59.
Take this off our next bill.
Really cold this morning, man, and it got.
Yeah.
I work with these to do that.
You ever seen an August like this?
I gotta go get a new driver's license next month.
Yeah. That's even mild. Even that's a mild 80. That's true.
It's time to go, Mr. Mayor.
It's still like once in November, and it lasts until July. Flags. Good see you, sir. Trying to figure out how to be better. You okay? Try harder. It's on my list, trust me.
If you want to do it,
I don't, but.
okay, then I'll do it. I'll do it. Yep, that's fine. That's fine, sure.
But I will. You shouldn't say that.
Yeah, I just totally blanked out. It is my shirt.
Wait, hey, Jack.
Hi, Josh.
Diane? Yeah.
My aunt's dying, and
Okay, Jack, Jack.
Yeah.
Okay, Jack.
I didn't want to rub it in.
I came at 6:30 to make up. All right, if you'd all rise. Good evening and welcome to tonight's common council meeting. We'll start off with the invocation.
Let's pray. Father God, thank you so much for this beautiful weather that we've been experiencing the last few days. Father, I'd like to take a moment and pray for Councilor Quance's family members, Father, and their family. I just pray that you would help strengthen them through this time. Father, I'd also like to thank you for the department heads and all the employees that work here in Warsaw. Father, they're dedicated, hardworking people, and we're very blessed to have them. And Father, as we get ready to go through the budget, I would pray that we would have attentive ears, that we would become knowledgeable and be able to translate that into wisdom so that we can do a good job for this city. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Thank you, Jack. Now the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. See. Lynn, for the record, everybody's present. First item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from the 8-5 meeting.
I make a motion to approve as presented.
Motion to approve, is there a second? There's a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, say nay. The ayes have it, thank you.
I'm sorry, who did this second?
Jerry did.
All right,
Josh
sorry.
made the motion and Jerry the
Yes.
second, thank you. And I want to welcome everybody who's here this evening. Reports oral and written. Launchpad, ARPA funds, an MOU change. Good evening.
Good evening.
Hi, Rob.
Thanks for having me up here. You don't need this, right? It's okay, or you guys hear me okay? All right. So last, I think it was a month ago or so, Launchpad came and talked about changing the ARPA MOU due to the changes in the environment that we had experienced, looking for business to invest in childcare spaces through their operations. So what we're asking is that very minimal changes to the ARPA dollars that allow us to still continue to advance childcare in our community by bringing on a partner with the Y and creating what we are calling a play cafe for parents with children from the ages of 0 to 3, maybe a bit above that as well, to come in and allow their kids to be watched by a child care provider while they are continuing to do work and making conference calls and engaging in business that's good for our community. So the idea is to take the dollars that has been allocated for childcare. It was allocated for a direct business case where it'd be seats. Now we're doing it to allow remote workers to access childcare more readily and more easily. And other people who are not working can use it as well. But the intent is to have some quiet rooms, quiet space, conference calls, and do your work while your kids are being watched, again, at a young age, 0 to 3. We've already received dollars from the Lilly Foundation through the Kosciuszko County Community Foundation to help fund that, and these ARPA dollars would help bring it all the way to fruition. And I can read specifically the changes that we've made to the MOU, if you're...
Thank
okay.
you, Rob.
Sure. So under, on page 2, or under 4 on page 2, it says that Kosciuszko Chamber of Commerce Foundation through Launchpad Coalition shall render and provide the following services. And one of the first changes, it says identify businesses whose physical location is within city limits, who will provide childcare seats and award a matching grant up to 25% of the startup cost for construction renovations. And then we're just adding furniture and equipment. It's the only add that we've added there. The second one is identified businesses receiving the award shall agree in writing that the funding will be used for construction renovations and furniture and equipment. Again, no big change there, just furniture and equipment is the only thing we're adding. The next one, Launchpad will monitor the child care programs to ensure each program is in good standing with state licensing or operating under state-approved licensing exempt status. So the only change there was license, state-approved license exempt status, which the Y would have. That is essentially the changes that we've made to the MOU to allow for us to change the dollars from a business that purchased a home and provided child care for their employees to now having a solution for our entire community to be able to take their children and drop them off for short-term care while they continue to do work. Hopefully that makes sense. Any questions?
Do you anticipate that all of the money that's left will go toward that?
I do.
Okay.
I do. Yeah.
I mean, we want to use that money. We don't want to give it back.
You're-
So
as
I want to know if we have
the construction
enough.
costs continue to rise, unfortunately, but thankfully, we have the dollars now through the ARPA to cover those increased in cost. Yes.
Okay.
And if you need it, Jim can say that he's got the quotes, and it's going to more than cover that. So if you want him to. Jim, why don't you come up?
Rob, and
Yeah.
it's my understanding that you don't have to be a member of the Y to be able to take advantage of this program.
That's correct. Yes, that is correct. I'll let Jim talk more about that.
Yeah, so the build-out would include some sort of coffee concept, the Play Cafe, renovation of our lobby space, kind of as it currently is, and the numbers we've received, about $750,000. The space that we'll renovate was given to us by Parkview Health. So if you've come in our building before, you look to the right, and there's the Parkview Health Center. That'll be renovated into the Play Cafe. Yep.
That would be where the kids will be, and then outside of that is where the cafe itself
Yeah, the
will be.
coffee
So
concept.
coffee concept will be outside of it. So, again, separation, but still viewable to the kids inside.
That's my understanding, and I want to thank you for meeting with us a couple weeks ago and going over these finer points. It's my understanding that as the MOU was written initially, it was more focused on helping businesses come up with childcare for their employees.
That's correct.
And this kind of pivots to a point where someone like the Y can help the entire community. And I really like the idea that it is helping people who work from home, have their kids at home, but they have to have a meeting from time to time. And Josh, I know you can vouch for this. Trying to have a Zoom meeting with your kids running around behind you is a little difficult.
Yeah, it could be exciting.
And so
That's one way to
this,
put
it seems like this is pivoting towards something that is needed, more needed, I would think, in our community than what our first vision was.
Yeah. And I like it, again, that it's community-based, it's that the entire community can take advantage of this. And even grandparents could be watching their, again, 0 to 3 or 0 to 5, grandson, granddaughter, and they could stop off if they needed to make a call or needed to do something. So there's options, not just for the parents, but beyond that. But it's child care at that very young stage that needs the most help in our community.
And the caregivers need to stay on premises while the children
Yes,
are there.
absolutely. Yeah, you can't leave. Yeah. It's not drop off and walk away. It's not babysitting, no.
So is there actually gonna be a charge for that, or is it?
Yeah, there'll be a
What's
fee
your
to
plan for
rent a spot by the hour, which would be customary for all concepts like this. In our community, working with Sherry and Rob and our board, it'll be very modest. We're not totally aware yet exactly what it'll be per hour, but very modest compared to, say, Chicago, Indianapolis, and some of the larger areas. But absolutely. And we do expect, by way of sign up, you can buy blocks of hours. So if somebody were to buy 5 hours a week for a month, or, that type of scheduling will be available and accessible, we believe, online to families, so they can sign up, and then we'll manage it from inside the Y.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Any other questions?
Not that it has anything to really do with this, but once this ARPA money is used up, do you plan on trying to continue the program?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we're looking for that.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, without question, because it's a need in the community. And we believe this, as was shared, I think, by Jack, we believe this is a vital need and kind of a really cool concept for our community to have available. So, yes, sir.
And it's a great fit at the Y.
Correct.
That, the Y's here to service the youth in our community. So.
Now, these dollars, they're not going for operation
No.
or anything like that. They're just going for the build up, get it in place,
That is correct.
make it safe, that, all those type of things.
That's right. To make it so the business model can work. Yeah. Which is safe and effective.
There's some restroom pieces that have to be moved around, and that's
That's
a bump to the price, right? Anytime you're,
yeah. Changing, obviously, safe changing place for the children inside, that's what we just want.
What's the maximum capacity per the plans for adults and then also for children?
It's gonna end up being, dependent on the size and how many adults are in there. But, we're in that 12 to, if we have enough adults, 12 to 14 range, give or take, at any given time.
and I think the plan is 1 per floor.
It is, yeah. So again, it's, if
One
we have,
adult.
if we have the infants,
Okay.
so it's 1 to 4. So if we get
Right. It has to have
60
that
infants,
ratio.
there has to be
Yeah.
4 adults there.
Right. Yeah.
But it can fluctuate.
I appreciate you working with Jim on this and then coming in and communicating with us, and appreciate you answering these questions. Any more questions? Okay. Recommend any kind of action here with that?
Well, I think we'll have to have a
Motion.
written MOU for it to be in writing. But I think they should vote to approve proceeding with a new written MOU.
Well, they did send that to us. We've already seen it.
From the first time we spoke, you mean?
Yeah, and then he sent it to us crossed out with what he just read to us a couple
I
weeks,
believe everybody should have got a copy of that.
about a month ago,
Yeah.
maybe.
At least.
It came from Sherry.
Man, I
Josh, you need
missed
it.
that.
I can go back and look for it.
Yeah,
I don't
I may have
remember,
missed
I don't
it, too.
remember seeing
And
it.
it really, it's minor changes is what we read, and then the only thing that was reduced was just saying that there'd be a number of seats, because this doesn't apply. You know, we're not building a childcare center where seats are needed, so that's the only omission or deletion.
I just remember we asked you for it and you sent it.
And we don't have one here. I just checked my email. Appreciate it, but everybody's patience.
Well, so here's the good news. You all are going to agree to do it. We just need to make sure we cross our i's and dot our t's. So I would be preferred if we all have the same document and it's updated to say amended memorandum of understanding, and then we have a date certain on it that it's voted on. And so I don't think we're going to have to do a new presentation. If it's done on September, what is the next date? September, what is the new date?
Third.
There's no issue from our side.
Doesn't have an impact there.
No, we're not. It's fine.
It should just be before we send you your next payment, I would say.
September the 3rd, so we'll just date it, we'll say, on the agenda for the next council meeting will be a request to approve the amended memorandum of understanding, and it'll be dated September the 3rd, and it'll contain what they presented today. And then we can just approve it in full on that date.
Is that Labor Day?
It's the day after
It's the day
Labor Day.
after Labor Day.
It'll be a Tuesday.
Tuesday meeting.
And we'll get it on board pack, so it's on the,
Okay.
You'll provide us with one, Dan?
Well, I think I will provide it, but I would look for Scott to give me direction on what he wanted to say, because the document is it's in the city.
Yeah, I apologize, I looked, I
No
can't
worries,
find
no worries,
it.
but we've taken what was at the city that was approved, and then put into a Word document, and have what you have back, Scott. So,
I'll have you work with Scott and my office, we'll get that new draft.
that'd be
We'll
great.
present it at the next council meeting.
Yeah. Awesome.
So I'm taking no action then right now.
no.
Thank you for
That's great.
coming in and sharing though, and I appreciate your
Thank you.
efforts
Appreciate your time. Thank you for.
together on this. Thank you. All right.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming too, Jim, because
No, that's right.
I mean, if you're going to spend that much money, then you obviously believe there's a need, and that's important for
Yeah.
us to hear.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think
So-
Sherry, Rob, they've supported that V Launchpad here for several years, so no, love to be a partner, grateful, very
Yeah.
grateful for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Sure, I wish you could be here if we send her. It's not good.
All right.
She'd be good.
Thank you, you
Thank
guys.
you.
Appreciate it.
It looks like that was May 20th was when it was initially brought to us.
May 20,
Yeah.
May 20. Okay, May 20th meeting. All right, I'll work on that. Appreciate all the questions and your patience with this. We'll have a new document for you to consider at the next meeting. Mike?
Mayor, can I request that the guys in the back close those 3 blinds? I can't see
Yeah.
who's standing at the podium. It's just so bright, that wall's so bright, all I see is a silhouette. Thank you, guys.
Actually, that one right straight across
Just
from
keep
me.
going.
The next one, this one also, and then we're good, yeah.
You guys need to wear sunglasses.
What it is,
I'm bothered
they're turning this place into a basement.
Yeah,
One
get
more.
that one.
One more.
See, Mike, I think it's funny you say that. My memories of these meetings, it's always snowing.
There we go.
It's always dark. It's always, somehow we have 11 months of that.
Yeah, that's right.
Thank you,
Better?
much.
Okay. The next item, item number 2, is State Board of Accounts Financial Statement Report. Lynn, please help me with this.
So this is our audit report from the audit that we just had completed. I know if you read it through every sentence, it's sort of confusing and doesn't say much. So that's what we wanted to say is nothing, because we didn't have any findings, so it was good.
Yeah.
I kept looking for the conclusion page to
Yeah,
tie
I know,
it
me
all
too.
together, and there wasn't any.
No,
That's a good sign.
But it makes you read it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good job, Lynn.
Thank you.
Credit to Lynn. Thank you, Lynn, for all you do, and your office. Lynn, you're not done yet. July fund report.
Well, I think in redevelopment, just get a clear report.
Yeah, and I sent the redevelopment ones to Jeremy, so if he wants to take it to the redevelopment commission, but theirs was clear too, and that was just
Yeah.
another snap, that was just another thing that they've creeped up on us in the last couple of years, and we have to separate redevelopment from the city. But then they asked us this year to start combining it again, so I don't know what will happen next, but
And neither do they.
it was good too, there was no findings.
Any other questions on that before we move to the July fund report? Okay, Lynn, July fund report?
So there's nothing really much to mention here, other than just, here's your report, and everything's going down a little bit because we have that first month in from our distribution.
Yay.
Any questions for Lynn? We'll go to the next item, the cable franchise fee, second quarter for 2024. Lynn?
Still dropping a little bit, so for next year's revenue, I dropped our revenue for cable fees, franchise fees too. Now, if they pick up streaming, that might be a different story.
Any questions on any of the reports?
Just want to clarify, Lynn, for anybody that may not be familiar, that's the money we get from them for their fee, is that
Yeah,
correct?
if you look at, if you have cable, there's usually a franchise fee payment you make in your billing if they have it specified, and then we get so much of that.
Lynn, you mentioned streaming. Is there any talk about charging for people who use internet services? Because they're still using our lines. Or they're still using,
That's totally above my level and pay grade, but that would be a state decision or
Yeah.
probably a federal decision, I would say.
probably not.
Any other questions? Thanks, Lynn, for that.
You're welcome.
We'll go to unfinished business. We have two items, two ordinances, looking at a second reading approval. The first one is ordinance 2024-0801. It's an additional appropriation of $250,000. This would be second reading. This would be a final approval for this.
And this is to go into the general fund, into the council budget under professional services to pay for some expected billings.
I move we approve ordinance 2024-0801
I'll second that.
A motion
on second reading.
by Jack to approve on second read, and a second by Cindy. Any further discussion? Call the vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. Thank you. We'll move to the next item, ordinance 2024-0802. This is a second read on the promotional account. Denny, I appreciate you coming up to answer any more questions the council may have. Again, this is, I'll let you speak, Denny. Thanks.
Yeah, again, this is just tweaking and updating a 40-year-old ordinance that we had on the books. Just gives the department heads a little bit more freedom with how they can take care of their guys and meeting spaces and things of that nature, so.
Appreciate you working on this, Denny, and proposing it. Any questions from the council? Again, this is second read on this ordinance.
I would move to approve ordinance number 2024-08-02 on second reading.
Motion by Diane to approve on second reading. Is there a second?
That was Cindy, but I'll
Or
second
Cindy,
it.
I'm sorry.
I'll second, and then we'll just keep it clean.
I see. I'm sorry, yeah. So the motion made by Cindy, I'm sorry, Cindy, and the second by Diane. Thanks for that correction. Any further discussion? Call for the vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, say nay. The ayes have it. Thank you. Thanks, Danny.
So what, this was a 42-year-old ordinance that we just updated.
My dad was on that council.
There you go.
I wasn't even born.
The next item on the agenda, moving into new business, is Resolution 2024-0806, approving the potential purpose of Warsaw Chemical. Very exciting news. Jeremy, I'll let you explain this. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, so first we'll kind of go over what I'm asking for tonight, and then we'll go over some of the information that's in your packet. But so basically, the resolution you have is doing two things. One is approving the right or the ability for the Redevelopment Commission to purchase the Warsaw Chemical properties. And the second thing it's providing the form of the agreement, the form of the purchase agreement. So you're approving the form, not necessarily the purchase agreement, but just the form of. So the two things you're doing with this resolution is A, approving the Warsaw Redevelopment Commission's ability to purchase the Warsaw Chemical site, and then two, approving the form that will be used to purchase the property. In your packet, I included some of the things that we've been working on for the last few years. One of them is the ORI information, which is the Orthopedic Industry Retention Initiative. And the second part of that is from the Grace College's Lilly grant that was awarded a week or so ago through the Lilly Foundation. And this project has been in both of those documents and is supported by both groups. Moving forward, we'll have to put those partners together that are kind of outlined within the memo that I provided you. So grabbing those partners, Grace College, potentially Warsaw Community School Corporation, KEDCO, OrthoWorks, the ORI initiative, grabbing all those partners to put this project together. There are a number of elements to the project, one being potential having Grace's Engineering College within this Orthopedic Innovation and Research Center. We will have a small piece of it, which would be the Orthopedic Innovation Center, which would be potential co-working space, shared space, and startup space for the orthopedic industry, i.e. our tech park element. So that's kind of where our funding is coming from, is part of that tech park. So that tech park piece, that innovation center, will be in this location. And then hopefully working with the school corporation to potentially move some of their training programs into this facility as well. There could be some space potentially for OrthoWorks and some other entities that would go into this site, but those are the things that we'll work on over the next couple of years to put this project together. As was shown in this document, it is a part of the Grace's Lilly application, and as such, this project would have to come to fruition in the next 5 years. So they have that 5-year window. As we work with Warsaw Chemical, it's not going to be an immediate purchase and then they vacate the property. So there'll be some time in between in which they'll be setting up their new location with new equipment and moving that. Right now, that's targeted to be about an 18-month period. The design of this project would probably take around 18 months as well. So it works well within the framework of designing this project and Warsaw Chemical moving to their new location, which is on 15. The big pluses with this project obviously are we've got our current project with GACI getting ready to start. We've been working on revitalizing this area. So between the GACI, the RW Lofts, the housing project, the 2525 Durban, reimagining what this Warsaw Chemical site will look like with the initial project being the Orthopedic Innovation Center. And then there will be additional property that will not be initially used by that Orthopedic Innovation Center that we'll try to reprogram as well. We're working as part of this purchase agreement through the cleanup of the environmental issues that Warsaw Chemical has. They've been at it for some time now. And if you remember correctly, a couple of years ago, part of our redoing of the state revolving loan was to give money to that cleanup. So that has been also part of our contribution There's money to clean up this site. The intent of this agreement would be that they would continue that environmental cleanup through closing. So at some point in the next couple of years, we'll get closing on that site for the environmental issues. The end goal of this project is to turn it over to a manager. In this case, most likely Grace would take ownership of the end product. So after we develop the project, we get the environmental clearance. The intent is that this property would become Grace's management. So we are not going to ultimately hold this property for the long term. They will be the ones managing the Innovation Center. Obviously, a lot of different elements. We're going into this. There's still a lot of work to be done. But hopefully over the next couple of years, we can program this building and get the funding necessary to rehabilitate it. Obviously, the CCC grant is going to be a huge help. There was $7 million allocated within that grant. We're looking at hopefully getting $5 million from ORI, another $5 million that we'll contribute through the Tech Park increment. So that'll all be Tech Park money going into this project. That increment money over the next few years. Right now, I think we've received around $3 million. We're averaging around $500,000 a year. So over the next couple of years, we'll have some additional funds that we'll put into this project through the Tech Park increment. And then additional partners could include Warsaw Community School. We'll be talking to them about what role they may play in this facility, and then some outside grant and funding opportunities we'll seek as well, and as we redevelop this project.
Jeremy, you mentioned Tech Park funding. Pretty limited on what you can use those dollars for, correct?
Yes. Yeah, it has to be in the Tech Park or for a innovation or incubator. In this case, this would be our innovation, our incubator to create new jobs.
Any questions for Jeremy?
So who actually will oversee the whole project?
It'll be a combination between us and Grace as a partnership. Ideally, Grace wants to take ownership of the property, and they want to take ownership of the project. But rightfully so, they don't want to do that until we get the environmental portion of that figured out. So our goal is to work with Warsaw Chemical, and there is an environmental portion of this agreement on which they will proceed to get that to closing. Once that issue is closed out, then that will allow us to dispose of the property to Grace in a manner that they will have that closing, that environmental protection.
And Jeremy, Warsaw Chemical right now is on it's on 10 acres, am I correct?
It's roughly 10 acres. Most of you are familiar with what we're talking about here. If you're not, feel free to ask me any questions. But the primary would be rehabbing that 70,000 square foot building that's referred to as the milk barn, the old mill knob. But that's the portion that we will be rehabilitating. The remainder of the property will probably be demoed. The other portion of the building is not as usable, but I don't want to say we're absolutely demoing it until we get to that point where we review what its potential could be. But most likely it's being demoed, and then we basically have that roughly 5 acres that we'll redevelop into other projects.
And Warsaw Chemical, you said going north, but within our jurisdiction, countless jobs, and they'll be redeveloping property
Yes.
to the north.
Yeah.
Well, explain that.
So they're looking at the property or have a LOI, a letter of intent to acquire the property. It's on 15 and 350 North, I think. So as you come up around Sheldon Street, at that traffic signal at 15, that property on the east side, I'm not sure who used to be in there.
Spartak.
Used to be Spartak, yeah, so they're rehabilitating that. So they'll be, they'll be reusing that property, repositioning that property for their use, and be putting new equipment in there to run their operations. So in terms of industrial access, a lot better location. Two, they're a chemical company, so getting them away from one of our very important natural resources in Warsaw is a huge plus as well. And then cleaning up that site obviously will benefit all of Warsaw and Winona Lake.
So Jeremy, since this was in the newspaper from the redevelopment commission, people have been talking to me and they're under the impression that the taxpayers are paying for this project. Can you clarify that?
Well, it's not going to be paid for from city tax dollars. So the tech park increment is income taxes collected from those companies that are located within the tech park. And they pay income taxes to the state income taxes. We are allowed to capture up to $5 million of that. So that's the money we're capturing, is the state income taxes that we're going to use to put into this project.
So I think that's really important that property owners understand that they are not paying for this project.
No.
That there's the tech park, all the businesses contributing to their tax. We're getting that tax back to work in our community instead of
Yes, so
sitting
that's
down in
tax.
Indianapolis.
Yes, so that's taxes we normally don't receive, but because the state allowed the creation of the certified tech parks, in which allows you to capture state income taxes to put back in those areas, that's the tax we're capturing. Normally, you pay state income taxes and it goes to Indianapolis and goes throughout the state.
Right.
In this case, those taxes that are paid at those businesses come back to us.
So I think that's really important for the community to understand, is that those tax dollars that have already been paid on your state income tax are now coming back to Warsaw to work for us here,
Yes.
which is not usually the case.
And then related to working for us at state dollars, the amount of dollars that these other stakeholders are investing or that will be coming in, it's incredible what potentially could happen on Argonne. Not just day to day, but the entire look as we think about not only our jurisdiction, but also our relationship with Winona Lake.
I'm kind of in the same boat as you, Diane. I've had a lot of people contact me with questions, concerns, whatever. And I guess it kind of just hit home to me. I wish that maybe sometimes when we're doing some of these projects or considering them, that we might just have some informational types of meetings for the general public. And I know not everyone is even going to understand perhaps all the moving pieces and everything, but just reflecting on what people have said to me.
The only other thing I've heard that I'd like to just kind of get some public clarity on is in this resolution, it says we cannot spend more, or essentially no more than $6.5 million. However, the appraisals for the property come in at just a shade under $2 million. So I'm assuming there's probably some money that would include demolition and site cleanup as well, but no.
No.
Well, let's-
No,
Okay.
so the purchase price would be $6.5 million. I think, it's easy to look at an appraisal and say, well, why is it not worth $2 million, right? Obviously, they have to relocate the business. So they have to move, they have moving costs, they have replacement cost for the building. We cannot build 140,000 square feet of building for $2 million.
Sure.
The big issue here, and the same issue, you probably didn't follow the Fort Wayne issue they had with Metal X, and when they purchased that whole property that became the Riverfront District and blah, blah, blah. The big issue is it's environmental issues, right? So devalues the property, even though the property itself is still of significant value. So that's been a weight on this project. So it's hard for Warsaw Chemical to pick up and say, well, we're going to move somewhere else because they can't get a fair value for their property. And you can say, well, they're to blame for their own mistake. Maybe, but the reality is we're left with two options. We continue to live with Warsaw Chemical at that site because you can't make up the difference, right? Or you make up the difference and you rehabilitate that site and Warsaw Chemical finds a better location. And we get what we want and they get what they want. And that's really what this amounts to. We can't build 70,000 square feet for $6.5 million. But we can rehabilitate it, right? So that's what we're trying to do.
And it really is a plus, Warsaw Chemical staying within our jurisdiction. Their jobs that they have now, almost 100.
Yeah, 80, I think it's at
and-
least 80-plus jobs.
And they're going to redevelop that property to the north, and so it's
Yeah, the
just an
property's
exciting
been vacant
opportunity.
for, I don't know, 3 or 4 years, probably more.
I'm still amazed in January, that this memo from Jeremy and his talk, when I came into office, didn't exist. But because of the work by Jeremy, our plan department, countless other stakeholders, including Grace, heck, just a few weeks ago, they were given $27 million the Lilly grant, and they've targeted almost, it's 7.5, Jeremy, 7.5 million toward this project.
Yeah, so.
That's just one
Yeah, the
stakeholder.
Lilly application was 7 million from Lilly going into this project. We're asking Ori to contribute 5 million, and the city would contribute 5 million through the tech park increment.
Or are the dollars Craig Snow received from the state, and it's just really exciting what potentially could happen.
Yeah, this project, and to your point, Cindy, it's tough because, quite frankly, I started this conversation with trying to think who was the president of Grace before Drew.
Dr. Cada?
Yeah, I walked through this property with Cada and talked to them about the engineering program when he was still president of Grace. So this has been a long time in trying to figure out how do we make this work. So having the idea and then being able to fund that idea really comes from the opportunities that cropped up. That Craig Snow went down to the state to get the money that the Lilly Foundation created for the CCC grant. 5 years ago, walking through with Kate Up and Mayor Joe and us and saying, hey, wouldn't this be a great opportunity to put your engineering college here? There was no funding for it, right? It was just what a great location if we can redo the Winona Avenue, redo Argonne Road, redo that corridor, and then flash forwarding to today where we have these funding opportunities in front of us to make this a reality. There's still a lot of work ahead of us and putting each of our partners together to make this project go, but we're a lot closer than what we were 5 years ago.
And related to what Diane said, you helped me out, Tech Park dollars in the tune of right now $1.5 million, and maybe we can target 3, 4, 5 million Ori dollars from outside this community that we have but coming back. The Lilly dollars at 7.5, I'm getting close to 15, 16, 17 million just for starters. The exciting thing for me as an educator, Grace College, the impact it's had on my life and my family, Warsaw Community Schools, and then I think about orthopedic-related industry, what this might do, not to mention its impact, these kind of dollars in this activity, the impact that it will have on Argonne Road, which we all drive on. I was on that road today, so.
I think another important thing to say is that this has a 5-year limit.
It has to get done in 5
And
years.
because I think a lot of our citizens, frankly, are tired of seeing projects getting started and nothing getting finished. And so I appreciate those people that have come to us and said, okay, what are you doing now? And is this going to be just another thing that's going to sit there for years and years and years and nothing's going to happen with it? But, that money's gone into it. But making it clear that those dollars that we're getting are targeted for this specific thing and they have to be done in this way and they have to be done in that time limit. There's outside forces pushing this forward as well.
Yeah, there's no one that wants to see these projects done more than me because I'm the one that has to keep pushing them, right? But it's not something that gets done in a day.
Yeah.
And this is not going to get done in a day either. You probably got close to 2 years of design and bidding, getting to the point that you can construct, and then another 2 years of construction or 18 months of construction. So it's going to take time, and that's why we've got to get the ball rolling now. We've been queuing this up since the Grace submitted their CCC application to Lilly. knowing that once they got that application, and they were calling me about every week saying, hey, we're meeting with Lily, can you give me an update of where we're at with the purchase of the property? And I would tell them, hey, we're shooting for September closing. So this has been in the works for some time, and in conjunction with the Lilly grant, in conjunction with Ori, and in general, just what the impact of partnering with Grace College's engineering program, partnering with the school on their training programs, so that we're creating a workforce that we can market.
Just one final question. Once we would pass this resolution, if we do, then is it all turned over to the redevelopment council and they're going to handle everything else
Yes.
from here on out, or does it ever come back to us?
Will not come back.
Okay, so we're turning it over to redevelopment then to do
Yes.
what they need to do.
Yes, Warsaw Redevelopment Commission will be the purchaser of the property.
Yeah, and I know they're separate.
The reason
entity,
for that is
as we
because-
just had the audit.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Reason for that is the redevelopment commission, as you all know, plays by different rules than the city.
Right.
So the flexibility for them to acquire property is different than if the city was acquiring property.
Jeremy, help me out. This is a check and balance. Is it because it's over $5 million you have to come to the council for approval? What was that in the resolution?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a dollar amount. I think it might be
Yeah, I
5
think it
million.
was that. I looked at it days ago, but also, Diane, I was in the Warsaw Library today, and they had a picture of the Milnot building where my grandfather worked, okay? And the picture looked a little better than what we see today.
I believe that.
And I would make the argument that if we don't take steps, right now, I'm looking at over, just for starters, over $15 million from outside our community that our community has paid for, but it's coming back. If we do nothing, I'm predicting that my grandbaby will see that same building, okay, 50 years from now. But now with all these dollars, it's so exciting. There is an opportunity to change not only what's going on in Argonne, but also, you mentioned all the partnering. Warsaw Chemical is partnering with us. They are willing to move, upgrade, stay within our jurisdiction, all these jobs, everything they want to do to redevelop that property. And they're also giving all these stakeholders an opportunity to do something on Argonne. So, exciting.
Jeremy, is it the total amount that we can collect from the income tax captured through the tech park at $5 million?
Yes.
Okay.
With the caveat, I think you can collect $150,000 per year after you cap out of the 5 million, but you have to generate that new.
Because have you checked in to see how much we've collected so far? I mean,
Yeah, I
I
think
would
we've got
say-
about 2 million left to
yeah, that's what I
collect.
was thinking too.
So we got about, right now, we're averaging a little over $500,000 a year, so we'll probably, in 2 years, or for 4 years, we'll probably be capped out of the original 5 million. And then at that point, we can collect, I think, up to 150,000. It keeps changing. There was a push to get it up to 250. I don't know if it passed or not, but we can collect up to 150,000. I think right now we're 100,000 per year, but it has to be new increment generated. So we generate the increment up to the collection of the 5 million. That means I have to add job number 1 again. I start over at 1. I don't get to collect from what I've already created, which doesn't really matter to us because our whole point is to create new businesses, to create new job growth. So we're going to keep plowing ahead regardless of where we hit that cap at anyhow.
Opportunities for economic development. My second priority coming into office, which you guys have all been a part of with the past administration and his hard work. And then the third priority, blurring the lines, working with other stakeholders, public and private, to get things done. This hits the mark. And again, just looking at it right now in the multi-millions of dollars, it is very exciting. Any other questions or comments for Jeremy?
Yeah, Jeremy, I think this is a great opportunity. I can see the potential down the road, but I've had quite a few calls. Maybe it's just public perception, but I guess there are people, and I've had several ask me this, they quite can't understand why we're paying 4 times the appraised value for a building that's contaminated, that's probably worth half that much if they were to sell it privately. The other question that was raised, we're enabling a company that wants to move, and we're funding that move. And some people felt that was unfair.
Well, they don't want to move. They'll be more than happy to stay where they're at.
Okay, well, I guess
So
that's something that's the perception, so that just needs to be clarified.
Through the many conversations, they said 2 things. One, we can stay where we're at, and we can rehab the property that we currently have. But we also, the city had plans to rehabilitate that corridor, and they said that they would be partners in moving if that was what the city wanted. That was 5 years ago. At the time, I said, I don't know what the best solution is. We met with some partners and walked through their facilities to try to gauge, what interest we would have. And I brought Grace College in. Grace College at the time was looking for what they're going to do with their engineering program. I brought the school through so the school walked through the property twice. About 3-4 years ago they did, and then they walked through it about 6-7 months ago, 8 months ago now. And so did Grace. So Dr. Cadup and I and some of his Grace College people walked through that, as they did the school about 3-4 years, 5 years ago now. Kind of envisioning, well, okay, if we were to take ownership of this, what would we do? What could we do with it? I thought it was a great opportunity for us to put our innovation center there in conjunction with Grace College's engineering. But 2 reasons. One, we are not operators, right? If there's one thing cities don't do is we don't operate businesses well. That's what private businesses do. So we always wanted an operator of the innovation center and not us. 2, there's nothing more important than young energy, youthful energy, right? And so to have an innovation center and surround it by 18, 19, 20, 21-year-old engineering students is a great asset, not only for orthopedic companies bringing in startup companies, or for them to have that ability to maybe use some of their skills, engage in them in prototyping, an engineering resource for that startup company, and combining those 2 into one area. And then at the same time, potentially bringing in the school with their workforce training and CNC machine lathing and all that training programs that they have. To try to have this combination of entities that are all kind of doing similar things, but all get something out of it. So you could have a potential startup company that comes in that needs some engineering work, that could utilize the Grace College's engineering students, and at the same time they're trying to do a prototype. Maybe they're using the high school's students, training them on helping them make a prototype on those machines. So that kind of collaboration is what we were looking for, and I think there's a possibility that we can do that here. So that was the target. So that's how we got to point B. To answer your question on the value, that goes back to, like I said, you can certainly make that claim, but I can tell you this: Warsaw Chemical's not selling 140,000 square feet for $2 million, right? Not going to do it. Why would they? 10 acres on Oregon Road, 140,000 plus square feet of manufacturing space. They're not selling that for $2 million.
Do you know what the sale price of the Spartec building is? And how many acres is that?
No, it's not 10 acres, and it's well over $2 million. I don't know the exact, but it's $3+ million, I believe. 3.5. I don't know the exact dollar amount.
The other question that came up, and I had several people ask this, and I can kind of see the point. So eventually this is going to be a $25 million project, is that correct? With all the renovations?
Potentially, yeah.
And then it's going to be turned over to a private college, which I have a problem with, but some people do. What happens in 5 or 10 years if Grace College decides we're not going to do this anymore, it's just not working out? Can they then sell that building and take the profit off of it, or what happens? I guess my concern is, and this is a personal concern, are they liable to pay any of that back to the city if they decide to stop the program and sell the building to someone else?
I would say probably, maybe. I know that part of our piece is going to be more or less, I will say, we'll be renting space from them for the Innovation Center. So it won't necessarily be like we're walking away from it completely, but we're not going to be the operators of the space, meaning we're not going to pay for the heating and cooling. We're not going to pay for the long-term maintenance, all of those things that we don't want to do, right? It's easier for us through the Tech Park increment to manage our small space, which would potentially be open for startups or a co-working space type setting, but not necessarily managing the property itself. That's the risk you run in any transaction we do, right? I mean, we're gonna put money in the Owens building, and they're gonna develop and they build it. And they may hold it for 3 years and sell it. They may hold it for 5 years and sell it. They may hold it for 10 years. We don't know, right? That's the incentive that we're doing. We're incentivizing Grace for 2 reasons. One, they're creating, they have an engineering college. We want to continue to accent and enhance that college. Because that is what's going to drive our future growth in the orthopedic industry, right? Having a base of students that are coming to our community, getting an education that's making filling our orthopedic jobs that we need in the engineering realm. They're high-paying jobs, it's a good education, and it's meeting our workforce needs within the orthopedic industry. It creates not only those companies staying because you're creating that educational base of workers, but it's also easier for us to draw in companies because that workforce is being generated on a yearly basis. If they're graduating, and they'll have their work cut out for them, but if they're graduating, 20, 25 engineers on a yearly basis, that's generating a workforce that you can market to orthopedic companies. And that's how you keep orthopedic companies here. You're creating the jobs that they need.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Jeremy? Really appreciate, Jeremy, your hard work on this. Day one, I walked in the office. My ability to watch you again and the other stakeholders is greatly appreciated.
Jurgen, related to what you just mentioned, I think like the turning point to me was when I understood that it wasn't going to be people's tax dollars that I was laying out there and wondering what was going to happen. And this is money that we otherwise wouldn't get.
No, I understand.
Yeah,
It's
I
just
didn't
these are
understand
questions
that
people
before.
brought to me and asked me to clarify.
No, exactly, but I didn't understand that before. So I was having some of the same questions that you just raised. Do I want to risk people's money and there's no guarantee and there's no payback and it appears to be going to two private, and why would we do that? And I think those are all really good questions to ask.
Good. Any other comments, Jeremy? Really appreciate it, everything that you provided to my office and the council.
No, I would just say that you can always do nothing. It's the easiest thing to do, right? The easiest thing to do is to do nothing. It's a lot harder to do something. And this is a big something that we're taking on. But we have some great partners in this big something. So hopefully, if this is approved, we can take that charge and move forward and accomplish something that's great for the community.
Any other questions, comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion to act on this resolution.
I would make a motion to approve Resolution 2024-08, There's
a motion to approve by Mike. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Diane, with a second. Any further discussion? Any comments, questions? I'm going to call for the vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay.
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 2? Okay. So 5 in favor and 2 against. 5 in favor and 2 against. Right, Jerry, you were in favor?
I was in favor.
Yep, so I thought. 5 to 2. Thank you very much, council, for your consideration and action on this. Jeremy, again, appreciate your efforts, like I've said. Item number 2 on new business is Resolution 2024-0805. It's a transfer of funds. Jeremy?
Yeah, so I'm just asking to transfer some money from improvements other than building and redevelopment general to professional services in the amount of $15,000, and then $25,000 from capital outlays in Winona Interurban TIF to from professional services, or to professional services, so from capital outlays to professional services in the amount of $25,000. And that's just for ongoing professional service fees for the expansion of the TIF district and the Warsaw Chemical Site project.
I would move to approve Resolution 2024-08-05.
Motion by Cindy to approve. Is there a second? Second. Josh, thank you for the second. Any further discussion? I'll call the question. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jeremy.
Yep.
Appreciate it. That takes us to budget presentations, and if it would be okay, we'll take a shorter break than we did last time. We are an hour in. We'll take a 4-minute break. We'll be back at 5 after. There is water back here if anybody needs it. Good. Thank you.
I'm not against the project, it's just I've got so many people saying, it's just, the problems with it. It's raising $25 million and giving the building to banks. Then we're gonna rent space back to the building. It seems like there should be a decision that says if they decide to continue the school, they give it back to the city.
Coming back for some.
It's no different than the Buffalo Street project. We bought all those houses, they tore them down, the people moved, and then gave that property to Matthews. Now, so, and Matthews always like, we can't even get it back, we did it to them in the first place. Did I get that vote right? That's the one.
I know they came and gave more space.
And they're saying this is the same thing. Could be.
I don't know. I don't know.
I'm not sure quite the way that you're,
Oh, I don't know. That's a question I raised.
I mean,
No, I think that was one that they came to us.
Buffalo Street.
I don't know. I was, obviously.
Well, see, I don't know.
And
I asked that question, I haven't gotten an answer.
after me.
I wasn't here, so I don't know, but that's the question raised by several people, and that's the only reason I asked the question.
Issue Rocket was, issue was a couple months ago. He was talking about it. Okay, so I signed both of these.
Like, so, then my other one just died. So my mom didn't like it because they got it.
This is
Because they changed it.
See, I don't know.
And then we-
But we're suing him.
And then I didn't want to just jump on it. Yeah, you know, like.
He has ownership. See, I don't know, that's what I'm trying to get an answer.
Yeah, so
I don't know.
she's 92. My mom's this year 4.
Just like another business that he owns, property. We bought it, demolished, owns, somebody did. And they were giving it to the builder. This is what it's
I had a good day yesterday. I had
doing.
last night.
And we have to try to get us out of the bag. Or, like Jeremy said, in 3 years, he could sell it, cash out, $20
So then I
million.
ended up having to run back in. Yeah, I don't know, he seemed like he was all right.
But I'm not questioning the project. I think the project is amazing. I think the benefits of that project is just amazing. But these are just questions you brought to me. And I said, oh, I'll answer the question. I'm not sure what the answers are. But I do personally have a problem with this, giving anything North Carolina. I mean, here it is, you can do what you want with it. There should be, and I'm talking about other communities, indeed, we should.
It's hard when they live that far. and
But
like,
if they decide not to do what they do.
She flew in,
we
she's
get
out
to do
to
it.
Julie's other sisters right now at their farm.
But they have
Right?
no
She'll be there
investment.
in about 2 weeks.
Okay, so she'll get to see her.
Yeah.
That's good.
Or at least pay back the part that we
She's
can.
going to, actually, the reason she flew in here because she wanted to, she's gonna go down to see my daughter.
We donated the land.
Because she has to, she runs the repair.
They signed
I have it in my book.
She said she has to take a look at it.
Can't get started. Yeah, we'll do it after.
If she doesn't, she'll do
There
it.
are avenues to do so. And I'm just saying we should at least explore that.
Okay.
Yeah. Potential there is amazing.
And be thinking what we want to do. So like a gas
My
station, I
understanding
thought that went really well.
Coming like that. And I just figured I can't, it's good.
All right. Yeah, good. I thought it was gonna be something else. I'll talk to us this much money.
It's on their plan.
All right, hey, thanks, man.
He just said,
It's going.
you know, why would they? Why would they want to put?
15 sounds better with something.
It is.
It's very hard to get in.
And Julie don't want to drive out there.
They gotta do it themselves.
Yeah, well, so first my sister was thinking about driving them up.
The only reason we go that far is we'd like to clean up that
My
area.
mom was picture like where my
And
dad, they live,
But no, I
Right.
think potential there
the
is
houses are almost
absolutely amazing,
attached
especially
with one for
if we go
son
all the way
and
down.
his wife, and then my
Oh, my.
other
I'm gonna be
cousin,
here for
she's
another
just
2
miles
hours
down the
anyway.
road, and they're all together frequently, so it just makes
Probably.
my mom feel better. You know, to realize that they're all there. The email was
Jurgen, I'm gonna
pretty,
take a picture of my red maple tree.
yeah.
Okay.
And I'm
I
gonna
cried
ask
when I
you
read
that I
it,
bought
so
from you,
it's
it's
hard for me to
growing,
read
it's
it to
probably
her and not
20
cry.
feet
Now,
high.
see, everybody else tells me their trees are
Well, my
dying.
dad said that, you know, I hope it'll be okay, and boy, it's doing really well, but I don't know trimming at the bottom if I should do anything, and then it's so.
Look at it. Where's it
It's so
at? Left side of the driveway or right
It's on the
side?
front, in the front, you'll see it's right by the road, it's beautiful, beautiful.
Now, is it a red maple or a crimson cane? It's the red
You
is
can see
red?
red, it's red.
That's not a red maple.
Well,
Wow.
Yeah, that's a Norway maple.
well, the bottom line is I need you to
Yeah.
just tell me, leave it alone.
I'll go by and look at it.
Because the leaves are way, you know.
Oh,
it's-
yeah, you gotta get rid of those.
that-
By the way, I was just telling Jack, I think the project is amazing.
Right,
I've had
yeah.
a lot of people come to me and say, why are you doing this? It doesn't make any sense. And I think the key is to get the word out and let people understand exactly what's going on. Because they're confused. They'd like to know
Well,
why.
just remember, Grace College just got that award, like we're talking 2-3 weeks ago.
Yes,
And
and that's gonna be part of this, I assume,
it's a lot, it's
a lot of it.
the funding, you gotta be really creative, like with the tech dollars, that can only be used for stuff like this, it's very limited.
Yeah.
Diane said it's state dollars
Respect
that
their
left,
persons, is
now
how we
bringing
say.
them back. Craig Snow looking at up to 5 million of more state dollars, so it's
Let's
just,
see,
but no
where
good,
is
it's all good.
fire?
No, it is, it is.
Oh, yeah, I know. That's fine,
2243, yeah, let's
yeah.
drop that.
Okay.
Okay, we'll get started. Hopefully, everybody had a good break. And again, thanks for your patience and efforts with Jeremy and his presentation, just talking with Jurgen. A lot going on. And appreciate everybody's comments and views and vote. All right. Now, second part of the meeting tonight, budget presentations. And we're going to start with the mayor's budget, 001. and right up in the front. And if you go to, you can go through the form, or you can go to the last page, and then you'll see next to that my budget explanation sheet. In personal services, you'll see longevity pay along with the 2.5% raise, its impact from 2024 to 2025 in bold. Employee benefits stayed about the same. Other services, cell phone went down a little bit. I don't know why, but that is the amount that we see there. Overall, for personal services, it's up 3.9%. Supplies are up $500, more office supplies. It could be because I just moved in, and I'm taking stuff from them, so that went up $500. So the 12.5% increase looks like a lot, but really it's not. It's about the same. If you go to other services and charges, communication and travel, staying the same. Office repairs and maintenance staying the same. Rentals going down by $400. We still have bottled water up there, though. Subscriptions and dues down $500 after talking to staff, what I might want to do. Award Co., great opportunity to award employees. I have 2 in my office. Denny's efforts, he's talked about that in the past. This is just a good faith effort to continue to look in the direction of our employees as a public institution, and so you'll see that in there. Other services and charges up 4.3% from 2024. You take a look at capital outlays, up $2,500 because the potential need for new computer equipment. In our office, one of the computers is somewhat dated, and right now it's fine, but there is a concern that something could happen, and so I was asked by my staff that uses those, specifically the one computer, to budget for it, so that's up $2,500. If you take a look at the total budget, the mayor's budget, it is $11,500 increase from 2024. That's a 4.6% total budget increase from 2024. I need to thank my staff. I need to thank Lynn and her staff for helping me, not only with the department head budgets and all that you've gone through, but for the first time in my 25-year career, creating my first budget. So, thanks, Lynn. Any questions? Okay. We'll go to budget 005, which is your budget, the Common Council. I want to thank Jack. I've gone through this with the council president. It was what, 2-3 weeks, maybe longer than that, about a month or two ago. Appreciate Jack sitting through that. I'll go to the last page. And you'll see then on the next page, the budget explanation sheet, personal services, salary and wages, employee benefits, because of the 2.5% pay increase, which that is what's been put in there because of the 2.5% for employees, as well as the medical insurance at 12%. This budget has gone up $7,365 from 2024. That's almost a 9% increase from last year. You take a look at supplies and no change there. I did ask about the fuel for the City Hall generator. That budget's put in there, that dollar amount's put in every year. It's a just in case it's needed. It actually has been used one time when the power went out. Lynn, you actually contacted me. You might have been the first one to tell me the day it happened, but it did work, and we had it out there for about half a day, didn't we? Just right outside, and worked very well. But that's what that's there for. No change though. Supplies. Getting to Section 3, other services and charges. This is where we see some changes. taking a look at nonprofit and council contracts, that is up over $170,000, and I'll talk about that in a minute, from last year. Also, the mayor's PR fund, and now fireworks, is up $6,000. The State Board of Accounts, Lynn could help you, indicated that it would be better if the money came from my office rather than the park department. And so I've moved the $3,500 into that line item. I've also raised the PR budget. I think I'm really close to the previous administration on my spending, but my staff recommended that go up just a little bit, looking in my direction. So from 24 overall to 30,000. We were also asked to put US 30 dues, move it from our edit budget to mine. It's State Board of Accounts was more comfortable with that. Communication and transportation, travel's down by $3,000. Staff thinking that it was pretty high, and then also the council members, you guys, your membership for years, this is not an election year or the need to go to classes, like council school or mayor school not needed, so that's dropped by a pretty large number. IT maintenance has gone down about $20,000, maybe $15,000. Tech communications gone up a few thousand. Legal notices and advertising staying the same. Insurance and workers' compensation, Lynn spending a lot of time with my office as well as the department heads. That amount is down from a year ago, but we feel really good about that. You probably don't have any comments, Lynn, but it's okay, good. Those are the numbers that we're putting in for this year. Utility services, I did lower gas and electric and wastewater by $50,000. Just taking a look at how much we've paid for City Hall over the past several years. I felt like, and Lynn, you felt pretty good about it too, to lower it by $50,000.
Yeah, and that's not all just City Hall for
It's,
the gas and electric, that's for streetlights and.
Oh, yes, for other items
some-
as well.
Yeah, maybe some lift stations.
But I remember several months ago that the numbers just weren't up at close to 450,000, and so we decided to lower it $25,000 each. Repairs and maintenance down $5,000 from 2024, but that's deceiving. City Hall, a new roof, it's estimated at $160,000. The things that I've learned while being in the mayor's office, Jeff, the roof, we have a problem. And so money being budgeted for that.
What kind of roof do they put on there?
You need to talk to Aaron Ott, but it's like a flat roof type, who might know? Yeah, okay. Yeah, rubber and then the tar and whatever they do, yeah. So. That was, recommendation was from our engineer who took a look at it and talked to contractors, potentially up to 160. So, posted machine and rug stays the same. Bank charges, ditch assessments. Ditch assessments, I was asked to add that to the common council budget as well. And so I did that. That's something that the council never paid for. If you take a look at other services and charges, that's $256,620 increase from 2024. This is a 12.4% increase from last year. But if you take the roof replacement estimate, professional services and nonprofit contracts, those two alone are the major reason for the 12.4%. If you go to the next page, you can see working with the nonprofit committee, you can see the recommendations for the contracts in 2025. You'll see in bold to the left of each contract, you'll see the request that was made. You then will see in the next column, you'll see the amount that they received in 2024 for this year. And then you'll see what the committee recommendation was. And that committee, I really appreciate Cindy and Jack. I know they communicated with several of you as well, working with my office to come up with these recommendations. And so the committee recommendations, that would be the third column. You'll then see a plus or minus from 2024. The largest increase would be animal control services. That's going from $70,000 in 2024 to the committee recommendation of $100,000. That also was the request from the AWL. So you can see that. If you move down, you then will see contracts that we have and the council pays for. Major changes, you'll see legal and professional services. Our legal fees and charges have gone up quite a bit, not only our own attorney, but for other services. That would also be Baker Tilly, their efforts to help us. And then also Language Matters services that Mayor Tomer started and I'm continuing to support. That continues to be a positive thing for many members in our community. If you go down to IT contracts, also you will see another major change. It's plus $77,300 from last year. The reason for that is we are working with Bit Computers to change their contract and ask for more support helping us with technology citywide. And I really appreciate many of you sitting down and listening to me share with you what Brady and Bit Computers thinks that they can do for us. But that change in that contract is over $75,000. So if you go to capital outlays, you'll see that it has gone up $9,500, and this is for additional computer equipment that needs to be purchased, and that'll come from the council contract. The total is $273,485 more than last year. This is a 12.5% total budget increase. The roof replacement estimate at $160,000. Professional services and nonprofit contracts increasing over $171,000 are the major reasons for this increase. Okay. Any questions on the common council budget?
I just have one question, kind of looping between two. Okay, we have IT maintenance and licenses under communication and transportation, and then we have IT contracts. So is maintenance, the IT contracts, is there maintenance included in that also?
They're budgeted separately, and we have a member from the IT governance committee that can bail me out. A lot of moving parts. Nick, I appreciate you attempting to address this.
Yeah, no
question.
problem. Cindy, the simple answer is the server downstairs has routine maintenance that we do, from hard drive maintenance, replacement. Hard drives only last so long, they need to be replaced, and then there's battery backup units down there. All of that is on a schedule, and then we have an additional amount set aside. Oh no, this one died unexpectedly, we need to get that replaced. That's what that maintenance budget is for.
Okay.
So it is separate from the contract.
Okay.
And then the licensing, there's countless.
When you look at each department, I'll pick on the airport. We have our own licensing that's not in this budget, but it is proprietary software that only the airport uses. As the city is bringing more and more departments in, and we're trying to consolidate those licenses so that we spend less, are there better programs that multiple departments can use instead of a program that will kind of works but only one or two departments use? They might be more expensive on paper, but when you look at the cost savings across the city by consolidating and pulling everybody together, and that's what those licenses are really for.
And so there you have that. And then if you go to, again, the council contracts, that IT contract, almost all of that, if not all of it, is Bit Computers.
Okay, and
Is
that's
the- is
kind
the-
of citywide?
Yes,
Correct.
that's,
Yep.
they're the ones that help me out with that. That's 237,300.
Correct, yes.
Most of it is BIT and the services
That
they
is all
provide.
bit. Yep, so that is all BIT computers and the services that they provide. Look at them as everything from your director of IT all the way down to the guys that are pulling the wires and actually putting the wall plate covers in place. They take care of all of that for every single department across the city, as well as work with departments. We're working on a new self-serve fuel farm at the airport. Contacted BIT and said, hey, we need security cameras, we need data, and they take care of all of that, and that's
Okay.
part of that contract.
Okay, I understand, yeah.
And again, that large increase is because we are asking, or the IT governance team, I sat in on all those meetings, or most of them, asking a lot more from BIT computers.
Correct.
To service
Large increase
the
in
city.
time.
Okay.
Thanks for helping me.
Yeah.
with
Yeah,
that,
thank you.
Nick. Anything else related?
No, no, I just wanted to clarify the difference there.
Any other questions? Again, I need to thank Jack. I need to really thank Lynn and her staff, my staff, for helping me work through the first Common Council budget. Any questions? I want to thank the council too for their patience with me as I went through the budget process for the first time as mayor. It is very different than being in Jurgen's seat, I will tell you that. But again, a privilege to do it. Lynn?
So my tab number is number 4. If you go to the last sheet, I have a breakdown, so I don't have it quite as clarified as the mayor did. I guess I should have listened to my own words.
You know, you've done this a few times.
So, and, in personal, services, I have the 2.5% increase reflected in the 2025, column for the 98,600. Remember, we split ours 3 ways. It's split between fire, wastewater, and general. I upped my cell phone allowance to give cell phone allowances to all the employees in my office. So that ended up with being a 6.73% raise in that, or increase in that category. And then the next category, which.
Did you not have any longevity employees?
I do have the longevity, it's figured in with the wages.
Okay.
If you look on the very first sheet, I
First
have it,
page. 1,500.
split out to 1,500.
Oh, I see it, okay.
I just grouped everything together on this last page on the explanation sheet. So under supplies, I upped my office supplies $1,000 because it seems like they're getting more expensive. And that's created a 9.09% raise. And then under the next category, the other services and charges, I increased my printing and advertising because it seems like we're printing a lot more, plus the printing cost for our copier. We're making a lot more copies, and not just for my department, but for every department. So try to offset from what I steal from the council to pay for that and help with that as well. Did you know that, Jeff?
No.
Well, now you do.
Thank you.
Office equipment stayed the same. Our rentals is for our water cooler, it stays the same. And then the employee recognition, that was added. So it was a 7.3% raise. And my capital outlays, it stayed the same, so I have a total budget increase of 5.66%. Any questions? So I also do the GEO bond, which is tab 3307. It is what it is. It's just basically our payments. And that's for fire station number 3, or what's the new number for fire station number 3, Joel? 15? It's not ever gonna be 15, it's always gonna be 3. So anyways, we did have to do a loan, if you remember earlier this year for that, because we didn't have the money to pay it because of a mistake the DLGF made the year before, and it shortchanged it the next year.
33 or so.
So we should be, hopefully, get that all evened out by the end of next year. Then the park bond, this is tab 3312, basically the same thing. It is what it is. We have to pay the payments, so that's what the budget is. And that's for the park office building.
That 4% interest looks pretty good.
Yeah, doesn't it though?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if Jeremy mentioned it, but we're closing on the Yaki building bond sometime before the end of the month, or within the next couple of weeks.
I don't want to say that, but
Yeah,
he's been
it's not a
working on it.
timeline,
Yeah,
so it'll
he's
be
been
interesting to
working
see
on it.
what kind of interest rate we end up with that, because it's probably gonna be down a little bit from when we first started working on that. Anyways, and my last one I take care of is the cumulative capital improvement budget. And that is tab number 4401. And Jurgen, if, since this is your first time around, the money, this money that we get for this comes from cigarette taxes. So we don't put a rate on it, so it's not any kind of tax base. It's just what we get in cigarette sales tax. And we usually put that towards the bike walk path and some professional services that might be associated with that. So that budget pretty much stayed the same.
And that comes strictly back from the state? Or indirectly?
Yeah, we get a disbursement twice a year.
Is that based on actual cigarette sales in the county or the city, or?
I don't know what they base it on.
Formula,
And there's
okay.
only certain things you can use it for, but then,
Sure.
and I was looking at the statute today, it says it has this list, and it says, or anything the city, or the unit desires, so.
Interesting.
It can go for anything. And we can always divert some of that money to something else if it's needed, as long as it's budgeted. So that's that.
Thank you, Lynn.
You're welcome.
And Alan, presenting those, all your help getting me through the day this year. Any questions for her? Okay, Nick, you are up.
Good evening, everybody. Y'all still awake with me?
Yep.
Budget, is it 22?
2206, I won't have you guys turn to that one. As you are, I'm going to go over 4652. That is my airport depreciation / capital outlays budget. That is not tax funded. That is funded through fuel sales, cash rent, land leases. 5% of the money that the airport makes every year goes into that fund. Next year, we have $185,000 budgeted out of that towards a runway, our east-west runway, a big project we have. I'll go into details about that here in just a minute, but that's that one budget there. 2206 is my main general fund. Per guidance, as you guys have heard, 2.5% raise across the board. Where we have a little bit of a change this year is I am proposing that we hire an additional part-time employee. We currently have one part-time mower that helps us out throughout the summer. We are looking to increase that and have a year-round part-time employee to help out. We have brought in a lot of our maintenance, from asphalt maintenance, building maintenance, fence maintenance. We are starting to do a lot more of that in-house. We also have a very seasoned crew at the airport. I believe myself and my 4 full-time employees, we are at 97 years of service to the city between the 5 of us. That accounts for a lot of vacation time. And so I've talked with Denny, and what we sat down and looked at it, what we're paying in overtime to cover in those vacations. It makes sense to look at potentially adding that part-time line tech position. So we're still working through that, but I wanted to make sure that was reflected in the budget. The other big thing, this last summer, we actually had our first college intern. Cindy and I had a lot of talks, and her grandson had a couple really great internship opportunities. Those are exceedingly, there's a lot more students than internship opportunities. I know it was really hard for me to find some when I was in school. It was a great first intern. We would like to continue that project and have that continue in the future. So the other big change in employees and personal services, with a change in some of our staff, the insurance needed to get adjusted. And so that's why we have about a 17% increase year over year from last year to this year in the personal services. Any questions? Can I move on? All right, in supplies, office supplies, stationery paper, as you guys heard, we've got a lot of projects and things going on. I do have to apologize for my typo. I forgot to put in the small increase in our operating supplies. Just with the increase in fuel and the cost of everything, that did go up $5,000 from $50,000 last year to $55,000, or $50,000 this year to $55,000 next year. Repairs and maintenance, we're staying the same. Other supplies is staying the same for a total of a 7.2% or 7.6% increase year over year. Other services and charges, professional services. So one of the big things, and you guys will see at the bottom, the improvements other than buildings has stayed flat at $600,000. I am going after a grant with a state group, and hopefully some more information will come out in the next few months. If we are successful with that grant, I'm hoping that we can partner with the county next year to do a resurfacing of our east-west runway. That is the #1 requested update that the airport makes from our corporate tenants. This mill and fill would be probably a 2-inch mill and fill. We're working on the design and the bid pack right now. That project, we are hoping to get done early next spring. That will give us 5 to 10 years of good surface coat asphalt. The strength underneath is still good. There's some structural cracks that will need to be repaired, but that will give us time to work through the 100 East project and figure out what the city's going to be doing with that. We are starting the power line project next month, so we're very excited to get that going. And then outside of that, through the rest of it, printing and advertising, we've seen some great engagement with our social media, so we've upped that from 10,000 to 15,000 just to try and get some more community involvement with the airport. Other services, 2206-390, that's our automated weather service, our instrument landing system, all of those continue to go up, so that's where that is. And then the employee recognition edition, so that has about a 12.6% increase. And then capital outlays is where our big money is, the improvements other than buildings. The big project next year is going to be our east-west runway surface rehabilitation. That's going to be where a majority of that $600,000 goes. That's what I currently have budgeted this year. And then machinery and equipment is staying flat at $100,000, so there's no changes in there. Overall, we would be going from $1,775,000 to $1,934,685 for just under a 9% increase year over year. Any questions?
Nick, thanks again for just all your work out at the airport and efforts to work with countless stakeholders and also navigate through the grant dollars and
Yep.
figuring out the best use, wise use of dollars that you have.
If we get this grant next year, I think we'll have 12 different revenue streams coming in to help pay for some of the stuff outside of the city. So we're really trying to work with both our county, our state, and our federal partners to maximize those dollars. If the runway project happens next year, we're also getting a taxiway project. We will only have, outside of some small taxi lanes to some private hangars, we'll only have one piece of asphalt that hasn't been touched. And as of 2019, we had not had any major asphalt work done in almost 35 years. So to have all new asphalt in the last 5 years has been, we're hearing lots of really great things from our customers. So thank you, guys.
Thanks, Nick. Chief. Police Department, thank you. We'll start with
Before we start,
006.
are
Or
we
which one do
going,
you want to start with?
are we going to be touching on the opioid funds, or is it?
I'd like you to.
Okay.
Where do you want to begin?
We'll start with the general budget.
Yeah,
That's step 6.
006. Thanks, Chief.
Okay, to begin with salaries, you'll see that there's the large increase is 21.79 for civilians. We, this year, we transitioned, as most of you know, that Dana Hewitt with code enforcement to the police department to help with animal control, code enforcement, and so that's going to be the reason for that increase. The base was at 2.5%. Obviously, the civilian non-sworn personnel longevity led to an overall increase of salaries to 4.97%. The increase in health insurance at 20%. There's also noted when we met with the wage committee, one of the items that we presented or had discussed was the longevity increase for police from 20 years to 25 years. That really has very minimal impact on the overall with salaries, but obviously had an impact on the pension contributions. So that's why the pension contributions have a 13.48% increase for 2025. Overall, the total personal services is at $5,933,360. That's a 7.12% increase. But I made a note in the explanatory sheet that without the transfer of the code enforcement, that increase for personal services would be 5.42% instead. Any questions for personal services for the general budget? Next category is supplies. And we had a decrease in supplies, even though it says an increase of, it's a negative $11,500 decrease. Other services and charges, we had an overall increase of 11.94% of $512,900. Any questions with the other services and charges?
Professional services with the Kosciuszko County Chief. What's going on there? The increase from 5 to 25?
Well, that's going to be projected to go to the prosecutor's office for the camera system.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Is animal control going under the code enforcement officers, or what's happening with that?
Yeah, so right now Dana Hewitt is our code enforcement / animal control
Okay.
officer. So yeah, so animal control is coming out from underneath the sworn officer. And quite simply, we just had no one with any interest in pursuing it. Dana Hewitt actually approached with the idea of taking on the additional responsibilities, so it worked out for us. Our parking enforcement, Dallas Owens, is also being cross-trained to help with animal control as well.
So we
And
have
with-
two
and with-
people that could respond.
Yes, and with code enforcement, we're hoping that the three of them will be cross-trained in all three of those areas, to include parking, for the purpose of having two individuals that can perform those tasks in the event that one's not available. So,
Okay. I knew you were making a change there, I just wasn't clear on what it was. Okay.
capital outlays, we had a decrease of $84,200. Total budget estimate is at $7,329,260. It's a 5.07% increase. And still going back to that, without the transfer of the code enforcement, salaries and benefits from the planning department to the police department, that total increase would have only been 3.7%. Any
Chief, in
questions?
the past, I know you've given us a little layout as to what cars we still have in service and so forth. Is that something that's easy for you to do?
Yes,
Or-
yeah.
Oh,
We-
okay,
we-
yeah, just when you have time, no
Yes.
rush.
Okay,
Yeah,
no problem.
Helps me keep perspective.
Any other questions for the chief on this budget? Thank you.
Law continued, Ed?
Sounds good.
All
What's the
right.
tab number? What's the budget number?
It is 2228.
There you go.
2228.
This is a revenue-driven account or budget, so it's based upon the revenues that we expect before 2025. The budget is set at 28,700, and with 20,000 being line item for other equipment, 7,000 for law continuing education, which is training and travel, and then 1,700 slight increase for other supplies, which is various supplies at the police department to include coffee. That amount, 28,700, is a 1% decrease from last year. Any questions for law continuing ed?
You want to do the opiates next, or do you want to do pension?
Do pension? So the police pension
What
funds.
number is that?
8802.
It's the very last tab.
Way back there.
Okay, the police pension fund serves 4 retired members and 3 retired members' dependents, so a total of 7. There was a decrease in the total budget in 2025 from $280,640 to $257,300, so a reduction of $23,340. Any questions for the police pension fund budget? The next budget would be the police forfeiture fund.
What's the number?
I don't have oh, yeah, I do, I'm sorry, 2404. 2404.
Did you make a budget for that?
I don't know if I did or not. Could be my error.
I don't have it.
Did you do a budget for that for this year?
Yes,
2404.
No, I don't have
We
it.
don't have it.
Yeah. I'll take the blame for that.
Can you tell us about it?
Yeah.
well, let me tell you about the forfeiture fund.
First, start with where the funds come from. So.
Well, it's obviously going to be forfeited money that we have received through, which is traditionally facilitated, civilly, that we've received through cases that our officers have been involved in. I can't tell you the specifics of this total 17,000, but last year, or this year, 2024, we did not have a forfeiture fund budget. We have in years past, but the anticipation is that we will have 17,000 in that account in 2025. So the purposes, and we just budgeted that. The item was just budgeted as other equipment. Again, 17,000 is the amount.
Do you want to bring us that budget tomorrow? Because I don't think I ever got it, Scott.
I can just give
Probably
you copies
not.
tonight if you want.
It's probably up in my office, so I'll try to, yeah.
Or also, it's up in the mayor's office.
Yeah.
And what do you spend that money on?
Well, this is just listed as other equipment, so we don't have anything,
Okay.
anything established for it.
Anything specific in mind right now?
Yeah. Just
Okay.
any needs that come up throughout the year.
Okay.
You go to without having to ask for additional appropriations. Then the only two other items I have are going to be the restricted and the unrestricted opioid funds.
It's 2256 and 2257. And that money comes from the settlements that drug companies have been settling with the states. So, with that said, when it first started, they gave us a certain amount we'd be getting for the next 18 years, but that amount keeps going up and up and up because of more settlements coming in. So there you go.
So for the 2256, the opioid settlement unrestricted for 2025, the amount of funds we are said to receive is the amount of $43,950, $43,950. And that item has been placed under machinery and equipment and has not been earmarked for anything at this point.
So the unrestricted is pretty much, you can spend it for anything. Whereas the restricted, there's certain boundaries you have to meet. And it has to be reported, so that's that.
Any questions on, I guess, the unrestricted opioid funds? The next budget is 2257, opioid settlement restricted. Like Clerk Treasurer Lynn Christensen just indicated, that these funds are restricted and that we literally have a list of things we can actually pursue, but it's going to involve services, professional services, and that's where the amount of $109,540 has been earmarked in professional services.
For example, this year, we had some training that the CARES team did, and the unrestricted, or the restricted funds paid for that training and travel. Because that's one of the things you can use it for.
Yes. Any questions on any of the budgets that I've proposed and presented?
So this is just like an outside question. So when we see that at the Board of Works, do the travel requests, and they come through Denny, but then does it get charged like to this fund if it's
Well, when they
appropriate or
turn in
whatever?
their claims, they'll put that appropriation, what they're taking
In
that money
the
from.
last part of it, and then when we see it there, then we see this number, that's what it associates with this fund.
Well, usually the claims aren't turned in with the travel request, it's just when they get done traveling, and because usually they use charge cards and stuff like that, and that's when they do the appropriation. So you would see it on the docket.
Okay,
under
because I just
maybe-
didn't remember seeing it used, so I just.
Yeah, it's not gonna stand out
Okay.
anywhere, but we check it.
Okay.
To follow up, Diane, so in the law continuing ed, a certain dollar amount, I think it's $7,500 for training and travel. We also have it budgeted in the general budget, and I'm, without looking, maybe 35, 40,000 in there as well. So that addition in law continuing ed was just to supplement.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions for the Chief? Chief, I really appreciate your efforts day to day, what you do and your responsibilities. And also thank you for helping me through these budgets. Sorry I lost one of them. Take care of that for me tomorrow, will you please? All right, good. But thank you very much.
Thank you, appreciate it, thanks.
So what was your response when students said they were?
Okay, and moving on, thanks, Lynn. Chief Schilling.
Hello.
Speaking of
Students?
students and saying thank you, appreciate your efforts. I know that this was thrown on you pretty quickly.
That it was.
We
Yeah.
spent some time on it, and you just did a great job. I appreciate all your work, and looking forward to seeing you take us through your 2025 budgets. Which one would you like to start with first?
The operating 2243, if we could. And while you guys turn to that, I just want to take a chance to kind of go over the levy that you guys graciously approved us prior to me becoming the fire chief. So if you don't remember that, the territory applied for a levy increase of up to approximately $1.2 million, which we were granted by the DLGF. So in that request, former Chief Mayo had mentioned and put together a plan through direction of the mayor's office that he wanted to stay at $600,000. So I just want to outline a little bit of the levy, and I'll outline it in the budget, but I just want to note that the total levy use that I intend to use is $523,000. So I tried to stay below the $600,000. With the help of the mayor, I was able to do that. So, and again, I'll go over that and highlight those where you'll see those in the explanation sheet. Any questions over the levy or anything? Okay, so in the salaries and wages portion of the explanatory sheet, you will see that we plan on adding 2 firefighters, which was a portion of the levy. So that includes their salary. Again, like Chief Whitaker stated, we kind of teamed up with the police department to change our longevity from 20 years to 25 years. With the sworn members, they already got the longevity, but our civilian members will now get the longevity that you guys approved as well. So that's added in there in the salaries and wages. Again, with the addition of the 2 members and that change, you'll also see an increase in our pension as well, and that for that personal services line item. And then we also, again, like Lynn said, a third of the clerk's office, a third of HR, and a third of the city engineer is also paid out of the fire territory budget as well. So you'll see that explanation in there. But one thing I do want to point out kind of now is our personal services total is $6 million. And as I go through the budget at the end, you'll see a majority of our budget is the personal services of wages and stuff for our employees. So moving on, so the personal services increase is 13.46% from last year. On to supplies. Again, we just upped the fuel a little bit, upped our operating supplies up a little bit as well. So but one of the things we also did is up the station's repairs and maintenance up $25,000. So you'll see a 50% increase in that. And again, most of that is just due to our Station 13. It's starting to age and wear, so we need to start increasing our funds there to help maintain that building to make it last as long as we can.
And 13 is East Center Street, correct?
Correct, yes, that's former Station 2 on East Center Street. Yes, correct. Thank you, Lynn. And part of that increase in fuel is again, we are doing a driver-operator training. So for our new members, our average years of service for the fire territory is 9.8 years. So we're a very young department, so we need to get more of our members trained on some of our apparatus. So that is to increase that cost a little bit as we plan to driver training for 2025. So you'll see supplies totals up 23.79%. And then into the other services and charges where you'll see probably the most increase out of anything. So just to highlight a few things, again, our new hires, physicals with hiring the 2 new hires, we have to send them down to Indianapolis to have their physicals done prior to them becoming, so we budgeted for that as well. And then our yearly physicals and random drug screens. So currently we don't do any physicals, and per NFPA, we are supposed to do annual physicals. So that is adding those physicals in there. So you'll see an $100,000 increase in that for our physicals. Also, again, you will see as you move down into communications and transportation, you'll see a $70,000 increase for training. Again, a very young department. I want to make sure that we're training our guys to the best of their abilities. So you'll see the increase there. Again, the physicals and the training are part of that levy increase as well. And again, as you move down, again, just your common raises such as insurances, utilities, that sort of stuff. And then again, as Station 13 is deteriorating, I want to make sure that we're maintaining it to the best of our abilities. So you'll see a 22% increase there as well in preparation for that. The next other big one is the other services and charges, and that is mainly for the award co, as every other department has talked about. We want to reward our employees for doing great things, so that's in there. For a total increase of 72.08% in the other services and charges. Then moving into the capitals, again, part of the levy increase, you'll see the $15,000 added for other capitals and outlay. And what that is planned to be spent for is our mattresses in our stations. I had initially asked for all of them, but decided to kind of cut it back a little bit. So we're going to replace half the mattresses in our stations, and then the other half hopefully in 2026, if so approved. So that's why you'll see the $15,000 added in there. So for our operating fund, the total increase is 16.9%, with the majority of that being the levy increase.
Joel, just a quick question. On the physicals, do I recall having heard, maybe a few months ago or whatever, that these physicals are a little more extensive than what,
Absolutely,
say,
yeah.
I would go to
Yeah,
on
so
an
we'll-
annual basis?
Yeah, so again, we do part of that through NFPA due to the carcinogens that we're exposed to and stuff like that. There's cancer screenings, a bunch of lab. They draw your blood and lab draws. We will get a stress test on a treadmill as well to try and prevent cardiac issues. Again, cardiac issues are our number one. Between cardiac issues and cancer, they're 1 and 2 in the highest casualties for firefighters. So again, just trying to protect our employees and help them last as long as they can here for us is the whole goal of that. Any other questions on the operating fund?
Equipment?
Sure. Equipment is 4410. So in our equipment fund, in other services and charges, we have repairs and maintenance to our stations, and you will notice a decrease in that. And you're probably wondering, why is there a decrease in that when I just told you that our Station 13 is in desperate need of some repairs. So Station 17 was that station last year, so it is fully remodeled. I would encourage all of you, if you haven't been in there in the last 6 months to a year, to stop by. It looks a little different in there, so anticipating that we're not going to have much maintenance there, we've backed that number off enough to where I feel comfortable there. So then in debt services, though, with the purchase of the ladder truck, we have our debt service payment of $200,000 for that, which we didn't have before, or I'm sorry, we did have that in this year's budget as well. Our first payment for that is due in December. And then, but you'll see the addition of our Scott SCBA's. So again, to not drain this fund completely, we're going to lease purchase those as well, or that's the plan. We currently have 50 of those air packs, and about 5 of them are broke, and we're getting by, but they're starting to age out, so we need to replace them. So that's the plan for that. And again, I plan on lease purchasing those, and we plan on buying about 45 of those. As you move down into capital outlays, there's a lot of things that fall off, such as our engine 17 that is due to be replaced. So hopefully that's paid for this year, so that will fall off. Some equipment and tech upgrades was for iPads that needed upgrades, so that will fall off. But I do want to point out the plan with the capital asset improvement plan that we have at the fire territory. Our dive truck was due to be replaced in 2021. It has not been replaced yet. That truck is is a 1994 rescue truck that we had used as a rescue. We refurbished it to a dive truck. And now with the amount of dive members, that truck just doesn't suit our needs. So that's what that is for, is the $700,000 for the replacement of that apparatus. And then our hose, as it wears and tears and fails yearly maintenance tests, it is an increase to replace that as well. New hire gear, again, we anticipate on having some new hires, so you'll see the new hire gear in there. And then our personal protective gear is due to be replaced every 10 years, so it will be, so we have some that are out of their 10-year limit are going to be by 25 or by 2025. So that is why you'll see the $75,000 there. And then the same is true with the TRT PPE for $4,000. So total in capital outlays, you'll see a decrease in 24.69%. For a
So-
total,
Does that mean that the gear for a new hire costs $100,000 each?
no, so that is also where we take out, so the PPE new hires and SCBA's, it's all lumped into one
Oh, okay.
line. So like our SCBA's that are being repaired, we're having those more and more frequently. So that comes out of all that line as well.
Oh, okay.
And for an exact price, I couldn't give
No,
it to you.
that's
I'd
okay.
have to
I
go back and
just
look it
was
up.
like,
But
whoa.
it's roughly around $6,000 to outfit
About 6,000.
that's just pants, coat, boots, and a helmet, and a mask. It's
Okay.
just about $6,000.
Okay.
So, any other questions there? Okay, so the total equipment replacement fund is a decrease of 18.38%. Any other questions on the equipment replacement fund? Okay, are you okay with going to the hazmat fund next?
That's fine.
2238?
That's what I was gonna suggest.
2238, Chief?
Yes.
Thank you.
So the hazmat fund is where if we go out on a hazardous materials call, per Indiana code, we can recoup some of our expenses. So we would bill for those expenses, and then they would come into this hazardous material fund. So the only thing we use this fund for is the purchase of oil dry or oil absorbent for our vehicle accidents. So that has stayed the same, so there's no increase there. The only other increase is we will also use it for other items that we may use for hazmat calls. So one of those is a gas meter, a mini ray is what it's called, and it will just help us detect different types of gases for that. So that's why you see an increase of $5,300 there. So again, it's just due to that purchase of that meter is why that fund is increased.
So the hazmat fund's sort of like revenue generated like the forfeiture fund for the police department, and it just depends on what you use
Yeah.
or what you might get reimbursed back.
Correct.
Do you have a pretty good, do you recall if you have a pretty good collection rate of what you may bill out or whatever and what is received?
I do not know. I
I
think.
know, we're gonna have to check into that. 'cause
Yeah,
now I wonder too.
Yeah, I know we've just recently sent out two bills, and I have not heard
Okay.
back yet if we've received anything back on them. Any questions on that? Okay, and then the pension fund is the last one, and it's 8801.
And it really is the last one.
Second to last.
Well, I mean, the last budget for the night, and maybe the season.
So again, just our pension fund, I couldn't even tell you, I I'm just being honest, I didn't focus on this fund very much. I don't know a lot about it, other than there's a decrease in, due to a couple deaths, but due to us having the increase of the 2.5% and then changing that base pay from 20 years to 25 years, it did affect this fund a little bit, but you'll still see a decrease in 4.66%. And then we kept all the office supplies the same and other services and charges the same for a total of negative 4.58% for that fund.
So the benefits paid out go on the basis of a first-class firefighter, and so with the increase of their wage and longevity going out, that's why that the payees
Will
they
receive
get a little
more.
bump.
Yeah.
But with this and also the police pension, we send in information every year, and we basically get back what we paid out. So that's almost-
Thank you for your help on that. I appreciate it.
Any questions for the chief on any of the budgets? And like I said before he started, he just came right at him very quickly, and spent a lot of time with him, learning from him, and then also attempting to help him, but he's done a really great job, and, not only on this, but also, chief, appreciate that you're off to a great start.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, have a good evening, chief, all right. Okay. Not bad, I only lost one budget, that's pretty good, so, yeah, we go. Try to find it, yeah, I'll be up there tonight. Yeah, the mayor's light's on up there, but you guys sitting through all of this, and I know you guys have communicated with department heads, you've communicated with me. Continue to look at these, and then we'll assist us as we move forward on the timeline, and we'll have more information, obviously, as we move forward about how all this is going to play out with the tax rate and everything else. So, any?
Do we have any clues to when our assessed value might come in?
We have the certified AV. It went up like,
Yeah.
how much was it?
I forget, but it has gone up, and again, I'm not ready yet to go any further than that, Diane.
Okay.
Cindy, any
Yes.
comments you'd like to make?
Yes, I would. Every year, our Indiana Federation of Republican Women recognize different women throughout the state for their contributions to city government, county government, whatever, as well as their contributions to the local club. And this year, the person representing the Kosciuszko County Women's Club is going to be our own clerk treasurer, Lynn Christensen. So we're very proud that she will be honored.
Thank you. Thank you, Cindy. Yes.
Any other comments from the board? I have one. It's hard to believe. On the 22nd, it's time for Deer Task Force training again at the Warsaw Police Department. And, yeah, here we go. The management team members getting ready for that evening. The police department, again, will be hosting, and we'll make sure that we get these archers qualified for another season. So that'll happen Thursday. Any other comments from the board?
Well, just a comment about our Main Street,
Good.
the board retreat, as well as the public open house we had last week, and Mayor Gross attended the retreat. We had some great ideas, and we had great attendance from the public. We had a lot of folks that came in that were truly interested in the future of downtown Warsaw. They took the time, they went through all of our little sheets that we had posted around. So it was just a great opportunity to have the public come in and share their thoughts and ideas with us.
Very productive.
Did I notice some new trees planted uptown?
Maybe not that I'm aware of, but
Out
maybe.
front of Mail Fashions and,
They put up
Sorry.
a new canopy.
no?
I can check on that though. See, I don't. The audience, Chief, you're done. Denny, you still awake back there? We're good. And then Mike, how are you doing? Usually you come in here and you have something to say. Do you, no? Glad you're here. Good to see you.
Mayor,
All
I
right.
just want to mention, I noticed in the Hodges edition, the sidewalks are gone. So they're really progressing. I hear them early in the morning and late at night. It's looking really good.
They do look good.
And the sidewalk, Lincoln sidewalk project is finished and
Really good.
still some things to take care of, but I would encourage you, I think I have done this before, to drive through the area there by Lincoln School, the cemetery. It just looks different. It's totally different. And I couldn't see it when we started a year ago with the planning, and now I see it. And it's just a great addition, not only for the school and all the children walking to the school, but the countless people that are using those sidewalks. So,
If I remember correctly, that project took a little perseverance to get it going.
it was, yeah,
It was
when
like
you
two
go
or
to
three
the
different,
federal and state government, it can be a little bit different process, but Justin and others working very hard to make that a reality, and that project is coming to an end. So,
Well, I should probably say thank you to all the homeowners along there who put up with it in their front yards as it progresses through.
they were very patient, and again, it's never perfect, but very patient, and we received very few calls and concerns, and I'd like to think that the staff upstairs, as well as the street department, did everything they possibly could to work through the changes. So it's obviously a huge change
I
to
think
that
the
area.
contractors have been doing a good job too,
The con-
helping with the neighbors and the citizens.
Communication with the contractors, with neighbors, nothing but positive. Just trying to back to being good neighbors, and it was very, like you said, Jurgen, with Hodges Edition, I mean, it was, construction was going on for a very long time, and they handled it really well, and communicating with the neighbors, good point. Does somebody want to move to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion and a second by Jerry. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Thank you.
Huh?
Is that yours?
They had all
And
those
he's
sidewalks
gone.
torn out in one day on one side.